that sustained entire civilizations for thousands of years. These recipes weren't just food, they were medicine, culture, and survival, all wrapped into one. 25 Native American dinners you'll wish you knew sooner takes you on a journey through flavors that have been forgotten by most Americans, yet offer nutrition and taste that puts modern cooking to shame. Wojapi. This sacred berry sauce holds the title as one of the most important foods in Lakota culture. Wojapi isn't just a sauce, it's liquid tradition passed down through generations of native mothers and grandmothers. The word itself means pudding in Lakota, but calling it pudding doesn't do justice to its deep cultural meaning. Making wojapi requires patience and respect for the ingredients. You start with whatever berries nature provides. Chokecherries, blueberries, or strawberries work best. The berries get crushed and mixed with water, then slowly cooked until they release their natural sugars. Some tribes add a touch of honey or maple syrup, but traditional wojapi relies on the fruit's own sweetness. The magic happens during the slow cooking process. As the berries break down, they create a thick, rich sauce that coats the back of a spoon. This isn't meant to be eaten alone. Wojapi serves as a companion to fry bread, wild game, or even modern dishes like pancakes. The Lakota people consider wojapi essential for ceremonies and gatherings where sharing food strengthens community bonds. Pemmican. If Native Americans had invented protein bars, pemmican would be their masterpiece. This concentrated food could keep warriors and hunters alive for months on the trail. The name comes from the Cree word pimihkan, which means manufactured grease, though that description hardly captures its importance. Fried over low fires until it becomes completely dehydrated. Then comes the grinding process, where the dried meat gets pounded into powder using stones. This powder gets mixed with rendered fat and often berries like cranberries or chokecherries for extra nutrition and flavor. The finished product looks like dense, dark bars that could survive years without refrigeration. One small piece of pemmican could sustain a person for an entire day of hard travel. Modern hikers and athletes have rediscovered pemmican because it delivers complete nutrition in a compact form. The protein builds muscle, and the berries add vitamins that prevent scurvy and other diseases. Tanka bars. Tanka bars represent the modern evolution of pemmican, created by Native American entrepreneur Mark Tilson. These bars combine traditional buffalo meat with cranberries and natural seasonings, bringing ancient nutrition into the modern world. The name Tanka means great or large in Lakota, reflecting the big impact these small bars have on both nutrition and Native American economic development. Unlike mass-produced energy bars filled with artificial ingredients, Tanka bars stick to the original pemmican recipe principles. Buffalo meat provides the protein base, while cranberries add natural sweetness and antioxidants. The bars contain no preservatives, yet they stay fresh for months because the traditional drying and fat rendering process naturally prevents spoilage. What makes Tanka bars special goes beyond nutrition. They represent economic sovereignty for Native American communities. The buffalo meat comes from Native-owned ranches, and the profits support tribal economic development. When you eat a Tanka bar, you're not just you're supporting Native American communities working to rebuild their traditional food systems while creating modern businesses. Three Sisters Stew. The Three Sisters aren't relatives, they're corn, beans, and squash, the foundation of Native American agriculture for over 1,000 years. These three crops grew together in the same fields, each one helping the others survive and thrive. The corn provided stalks for beans to climb, the beans fixed nitrogen in the soil to feed the corn and squash, and the squash leaves shaded the soil to retain moisture. Making Three Sisters Stew celebrates this agricultural partnership in one pot. You start by cooking dried beans until they're tender. This takes the longest time, so start them first. Fresh or dried corn kernels go in next, followed by chunks of winter squash like butternut or acorn squash. Some tribes add wild game like venison or rabbit, while others keep it completely plant-based. The magic of Three Sisters Stew lies in its complete nutrition. Corn and beans together provide all the amino acids humans need for protein, while squash adds vitamins A and C, plus healthy carbohydrates. Native American communities lived on variations of this stew throughout the harsh winter months, proving that plant-based eating could sustain entire civilizations long before modern vegetarianism became trendy. Acorn bread. Acorns covered the ground every fall like nature's own grocery store, and Native American tribes across North America knew how to turn these bitter nuts into sweet, nutritious bread. The process requires patience and knowledge passed down through generations, because raw acorns contain tannins that make them inedible without proper preparation. The first step involves cracking open the acorns and grinding them into meal using stones. This acorn meal tastes incredibly bitter due to the tannins, so it needs to be leached with water. Traditional methods involved placing the meal in baskets and pouring water through it repeatedly until the bitter taste disappeared. Some tribes buried the meal in stream beds, letting running water do the work over several days. Once the tannins are removed, the acorn meal becomes sweet and nutty. It gets mixed with water to form dough, then shaped into flat cakes and cooked on hot stones or in earth ovens. The finished bread has a dense texture and rich flavor that's completely different from wheat bread. Acorn bread provided essential calories and nutrients during winter months when other food sources became scarce. Blue corn mush. Blue corn holds sacred meaning for many southwestern tribes, particularly the Hopi and Navajo people. This ancient variety of corn produces kernels in deep purple-blue color, packed with antioxidants that give regular corn its nutritional superiority. Blue corn mush served as a daily staple, providing steady energy for hard work in harsh desert conditions. Preparing blue corn mush starts with grinding dried blue corn kernels into fine meal using traditional stone metates. The grinding process takes considerable effort, but it creates meal with the perfect texture for making mush. Some families still own metates passed down through generations, their volcanic stone surfaces seasoned by decades of use. The ground blue corn meal gets slowly cooked with water, stirring constantly to prevent lumps from forming. As it cooks, the mush develops a beautiful lavender corn mush for breakfast, often adding wild honey or berries for sweetness. The high protein content and complex carbohydrates provide sustained energy that keeps people satisfied for hours without the blood sugar spikes of modern processed cereals. Wild rice and cranberry pilaf. Wild rice isn't actually rice. It's a grass seed that grows in the shallow lakes of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and southern Canada. The Ojibwe people call it manoomin, which means good berry, and they've harvested it using traditional canoes and wooden poles for over 1,000 years. This sacred food holds such importance that the Ojibwe have prophecies about following the food that grows on water to their promised land. Harvesting wild rice requires skill and respect for the plant. Families paddle wooden canoes into rice beds during the late summer, using carved poles to bend the rice stalks over the canoe while knocking the ripe seeds into the boat with wooden paddles. The seeds get parched ovals, creating the dark, nutty grains we know as wild rice. Cooking wild rice and cranberry pilaf combines the earthy flavor of manoomin with the tartness of cranberries, another traditional food source. The rice gets simmered slowly until the grains split open and become tender, then mixed with dried cranberries, wild onions, and sometimes nuts like hazelnuts or walnuts. This dish provides complete nutrition with protein, complex carbohydrates, antioxidants, and healthy fats all in one bowl. Buffalo roast with juniper berries. Buffalo once covered the Great Plains in herds so massive they darkened the horizon for days as they passed. Plains tribes like the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Crow built their cross between gin and pine needles with a slightly bitter finish. The seasoned roast gets cooked slowly over low coals, often in earth ovens lined with hot stones. The long, slow cooking process breaks down the tough fibers in buffalo meat, making it tender enough to cut with a wooden knife. The juniper berries infuse the meat with a unique flavor that's completely different from any modern seasoning. This wasn't cheese. Bison bone broth. Long before bone broth became a trendy health food, Native American tribes were simmering bison bones for days to extract every bit of nutrition from these massive animals. Bison bone broth provided essential nutrients during harsh winters when fresh food became scarce. The cooking process extracted collagen, minerals, and marrow from the bones, creating a rich, healing broth that could sustain entire families. Making traditional bison bone broth requires patience and planning. Large leg bones and knuckle bones get cracked open to expose the marrow, then placed in skin-lined pits with hot stones and water. The cooking process takes 24 to 48 hours, with fresh hot stones added regularly to maintain the simmering temperature. Some tribes added wild vegetables like prairie turnips or lamb's quarters for extra nutrition and flavor. The finished broth has a rich, golden color and gelatin-like consistency when it cools. This natural gelatin helps heal gut problems and joint pain, while the minerals strengthen bones and teeth. Modern research has confirmed what Native Americans knew instinctively. Bone broth provides nutrients that are almost impossible to get from other sources, including glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline that support healthy skin, hair, and nails. Bear fat fry bread. Fry bread carries complicated emotions in Native American communities. While it represents survival and adaptability, it also reminds people of government commodities and forced changes to traditional diets. Bear fat fry bread connects to older traditions when native hunters rendered fat from bears, elk, and buffalo to create cooking oil that could last for months without refrigeration. Bear fat has unique properties that make it perfect for frying. It has a high smoke point, so it doesn't burn easily, and it adds a rich, nutty flavor to whatever gets cooked in it. Rendering bear fat requires cutting the fat into small pieces and slowly heating it until the pure oil separates from the solid pieces. The rendered fat gets stored in hide containers or modern jars, staying fresh for months. The fry bread dough itself is simple, just flour, salt, baking powder, and water mixed into a soft dough. Small pieces get stretched thin and dropped into hot bear fat, where they puff up into golden circles with crispy edges and soft centers. Traditional fry bread was smaller and denser than modern versions, designed to provide maximum calories with minimal ingredients. Eaten with wojapi, honey, or meat, bear fat fry bread provided essential calories during long hunts or harsh weather. Corn husk wrapped tamales. Southwestern tribes perfected the art of making tamales centuries before Spanish colonizers arrived in the Americas. These corn husk-wrapped packages combined ground corn with meat, beans, or vegetables, then steamed to perfection in earth ovens or large pottery vessels. The corn husks served as both cooking vessel and serving plate, making tamales the ultimate portable food. Traditional tamale trees like hickory or oak. The ash gets mixed with water to create lye, which is then heated with the corn kernels until the tough outer hulls loosen and can be rubbed off. What remains are plump white kernels with a distinctive chewy texture and nutty flavor that's completely different from regular corn. Hominy stew combines these processed corn kernels with meat, usually venison or rabbit, and whatever vegetables are in season. Wild onions, sunflower seeds, and berries often find their way into the pot, creating a hearty one-dish meal that could feed large groups. The stew gets cooked slowly over low fires, allowing the flavors to develop and the hominy to become tender. This wasn't just sustenance, it was complete nutrition that could sustain people through the hardest times. Nettle soup. Stinging nettles grow wild across North America, and while most people consider them weeds to be avoided, Native American tribes recognize them as powerful food and medicine. Young nettle leaves, harvested before the plants flower, provide more protein than spinach, along with high levels of iron, calcium, and vitamins A and C. Nettle soup served as an important spring tonic, helping people recover from winter's limited diet. Harvesting nettles requires thick gloves and careful handling to avoid the stinging hairs that give the plant its name. The best leaves come from young plants in early spring when they're tender and haven't developed their full stinging power. Once cooked, the stinging properties disappear completely, leaving behind nutritious greens with a flavor similar to spinach, but with more depth and complexity. Traditional nettle soup starts with a base of water or bone broth to which the clean nettle leaves are added, along with wild onions, prairie turnips, or other available vegetables. Some tribes added meat for extra protein, while others kept the soup purely plant-based. The finished soup has a beautiful green color and earthy flavor that speaks to the connection between indigenous people and the land that sustained them. Cedar tea. Cedar tea doesn't actually come from cedar trees. It's made from various evergreen trees, including white pine, hemlock, and juniper, that Native Americans called cedar because of their similar properties. This aromatic tea provided essential vitamin C during winter months when fresh fruits and vegetables weren't available, preventing scurvy and other nutritional diseases that affected many early European explorers. Different tribes used different trees for their cedar tea, but the preparation method remained similar across cultures. Fresh or dried needles get steeped in hot water for several minutes, creating a tea with a piney, slightly bitter flavor. The tea contains not only vitamin C, but also antimicrobial compounds that help fight infections and respiratory problems common during cold weather. Drinking cedar tea connects people to the forest in a direct, intimate way. Each sip carries the essence of ancient trees that have weathered countless seasons. Many Native Americans consider cedar tea sacred, using it in ceremonies and healing rituals, as well as daily nutrition. The tea varies in strength and flavor depending on which tree species is used and what time of year the needles are harvested, with spring growth offering the mildest flavor. Sumac lemonade. Staghorn sumac grows wild across much of North America, producing clusters of red berries that look dangerous but actually make a refreshing drink that tastes remarkably like lemonade. Native American tribes discovered that these berries, when soaked in cold water, release a tart, citrusy flavor perfect for hot summer days. Unlike many wild foods, sumac berries can be eaten raw or made into drinks without any special preparation. Making sumac lemonade requires identifying the right type of sumac. Staghorn sumac has fuzzy red berry clusters, while poison sumac has white.
What a microbiome is, that's debalance.
Completely. The red berries get soaked in cold water for several hours, then strained through basketry or cloth to remove the seeds and fuzzy coating. The resulting liquid has a beautiful pink color and tangy flavor that's refreshing without being overpowering. This traditional drink provides vitamin C and antioxidants while offering a natural alternative to modern sodas and juices. Many tribes served sumac lemonade at gatherings and ceremonies where its festive color and unique flavor marked special occasions. The berries can be dried and stored for winter use, providing a taste of summer during the coldest months when fresh flavors become precious memories. Cholla buds with agave syrup. The Sonoran Desert might look barren to outsiders, but desert tribes like the Tohono O'odham knew it as a vast grocery store filled with nutritious foods. Cholla buds, the flower buds of prickly pear cactus, provided important nutrition during late spring when other food sources ran low. These spiny buds required careful harvesting and preparation, but they offered protein, calcium, and complex carbohydrates that sustained desert communities. Harvesting cholla buds take skill and the right tools. Using long wooden tongs, collectors knock the buds from tall cactus plants before the flowers open. The buds are covered in sharp spines that must be removed by rolling them in sand or burning them off over fires. Once cleaned, the buds get roasted in earth ovens lined with hot stones, cooking for hours until they become tender and sweet. Agave syrup, made from the hearts of century plants, provides the perfect complement to roasted cholla buds. The agave hearts get roasted for days in underground ovens, breaking down complex carbohydrates into simple sugars that taste like dark honey. When cholla buds are served with agave syrup, the combination creates a dessert that's completely natural, yet satisfying enough to end any meal. This pairing shows how desert peoples found sweetness and sustenance in one of North America's harshest environments. Prickly pear cactus jam. Prickly pear cacti produce beautiful fruits called tunas that range in color from deep red to bright yellow. These fruits provided essential vitamins and natural sugars for southwestern tribes, who developed techniques for harvesting and processing them despite their protective covering of tiny spines called glochids. Prickly pear jam concentrates the fruit's nutrition while preserving it for months without refrigeration. Harvesting prickly pear fruits requires thick gloves and careful handling. The fruits are twisted off the cactus pads when they're fully ripe, indicated by their deep color and slight softness. The glochids get removed by rolling the fruits in sand, scraping them with sticks, or singing them off over fires. Once cleaned, the fruits reveal sweet, seedy flesh that ranges from white to deep magenta, depending on the variety. Making prickly pear jam involves crushing the fruits and cooking them slowly until the liquid reduces and thickens. Traditional methods relied on the fruit's natural pectin for thickening, though some tribes added ground chia seeds or other natural thickeners. The finished jam has an intense, sweet flavor with floral notes that's unlike any other fruit. This jam provided concentrated nutrition during winter months and served as a special treat for ceremonies and gatherings. Pine nut soup. Pine nuts, also called piñón nuts, grow on specific pine trees found across the American Southwest. These protein-rich nuts mature only every few years, making good piñón years cause for celebration among tribes like the Paiute, Shoshone, and Navajo. Pine nut soup represented the ultimate comfort food, combining the rich, buttery nuts with warming broth to create a dish that satisfied both hunger and the soul. Harvesting pine nuts requires timing and patience. The cones must be gathered just as they begin to open cakes. Cattails grow in wetlands across North America, providing multiple food sources from their roots to their shoots to their pollen. The golden pollen that covers cattail flower spikes in early summer can be collected and used to make cakes with a unique flavor and bright yellow color. This pollen is incredibly nutritious, containing protein, vitamins, and minerals that made it a valuable addition to traditional diets. Collecting cattail pollen requires timing and the right technique. The pollen is ready when the flower spikes turn bright yellow and release clouds of golden dust when shaken. Collectors bend the cattail heads into baskets or bags, then shake them vigorously to release the pollen. A good day of collecting can yield several pounds of pollen from a healthy cattail marsh. Cattail pollen cakes combine the collected pollen with ground cornmeal or other flours, along with water and sometimes eggs or fat to bind everything together. Quick reflexes and intimate knowledge of where they like to hide during daylight hours. The smoking process transforms fresh eel into a completely different food. The cleaned eels get hung on wooden racks over slow-burning fires, often using specific woods like alder or oak that impart particular flavors. The smoking takes days, slowly dehydrating the fish while infusing them with smoke. The finished product has a deep, rich flavor that's both fishy and smoky, with a texture that's firm yet tender. Smoked eel provided essential omega-3 fatty acids and complete protein that kept people healthy throughout long winters. Chokecherry patties. Chokecherries grow wild across much of North America, producing small, dark fruits that are incredibly astringent when eaten fresh, but become sweet and flavorful when properly processed. Plains tribes like the Lakota and Cheyenne relied heavily on chokecherries, which they processed into patties that could be stored for years without spoiling. These fruit leather-like patties provided concentrated nutrition and natural sweetness during the hardest times. Processing chokecherries requires patience